Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really diving into something quite conceptual, looking at the philosophy and the tech behind creating assets on Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's a fascinating stack of sources you sent over, all about digital matter theory, or DMT.
Right, DMT. And our goal here isn't just to give you a summary, it's more like providing the essential shortcut, helping you understand why many see DMT as this really necessary next step for Bitcoin assets.
We're going to explore how this whole framework led to these new kinds of digital things. NATs.
Non-arbitrary tokens.
Exactly. And their non-fungible siblings, you could say, the UNATs.
Okay, so maybe the first thing to nail down is what DMT fundamentally is. It's not just another token standard, is it?
No, that's the key point. It's more of a foundational method, a way of thinking. At its heart, digital matter theory is this framework for creating, well, verifiable digital value.
Okay, verifiable value.
How? By tapping into these inherent patterns you can actually discover within Bitcoin's own data, the blocks, the transactions.
Discover, not invent.
Precisely. And this process, it kind of unifies how you create both the fungible token, the NAT, and the non-fungible one, the UNAT. It's designed to be fundamentally non-arbitrary.
Right, that word non-arbitrary, that seems absolutely central here. Because usually, a founder just picks a name, decides on a supply.
Yeah, totally arbitrary choices.
But with DMT, the sources are really emphatic. The parameters, the actual digital stuff you're working with, it's not chosen. It's found within the blockchain itself. So today, we need to unpack that philosophy, why this discovery matters, then look at the engineering, how it actually works efficiently.
And finally, what's being built? What are the actual applications emerging from this?
Let's dig into that big why first.
Yeah.
Reading through this material, it often feels less like tech talk and more like natural philosophy.
It does, doesn't it? And that's intentional. The theory is trying to sort of mirror the physical world, but in this digital space.
Yeah.
It's suggesting that, just like physical stuff has structure, the data on Bitcoin's blockchain, because it's secure and ordered, reveals these underlying patterns.
Patterns that can be harnessed.
Exactly, to generate what they're calling digital substance. It's like a computational material that acts predictably within its digital environment.
That's a strong parallel. But okay, when we talk about data having fundamental rules, how do we avoid just seeing patterns we want to see, like finding shapes in clouds?
That's a fair question. What makes these Bitcoin patterns genuinely discoverable? Like, say, the laws of physics.
Yeah.
Well, the rigor comes from that non-arbitrary selection. And the sources often bring up this thermodynamic analogy.
Thermodynamics, how does that fit in?
Think about the sheer energy Bitcoin miners pour into the system. What comes out isn't just a transaction list. It's this incredibly secure, ordered state, the blockchain. It's measurably low entropy.
Low entropy, like order instead of chaos?
Precisely. And just like our physical economies grew by tapping into natural low-entropy states like, coal seams or oil deposits.
Concentrated energy.
Right. DMT proposes that this low-entropy data environment is the stable ground. It's where you can reliably extract these non-arbitrary digital commodities.
Okay, that makes sense. It provides a stable base.
And that thinking leads directly to this really ambitious idea they call the digital periodic table.
A periodic table for digital elements.
Wow. Yeah, the vision is huge. They want to create this robust, ordered, kind of composable table of digital elements.
Derived from Bitcoin data.
Derived from specific, verifiable data fields within Bitcoin blocks and transactions.
So what does that look like practically right now?
Well, the first version has maybe 60 or so elements indexed. And that's mostly from just one data field, the bits field in the block header.
Just one field yielding 60 elements.
Yeah, but think about it. Bitcoin block has, 30 or 40 different data fields you could potentially analyze. Block data, transaction details, input data.
So the potential is much larger.
Potentially thousands of these foundational digital elements could be discovered over time.
That really drives home the comparison the sources make to Mendeleev and the physical periodic table back in 1869. He wasn't just cataloging known elements. He built a system, a logic, that predicted elements yet to be found. It left gaps.
Exactly. And DMT is aiming for that same kind of fundamental organizational structure, but for digital matter derived from Bitcoin's energy expenditure.
Digital matter. It still sounds a bit sci-fi.
Maybe. But there's research reference, serious physics research, claiming digital information is a new form of matter. Measurable.
Really?
Yeah, and based on how fast we're creating data, some projections suggest this digital matter could actually outweigh all physical matter on Earth in like 350 years or so.
Whoa. Okay, if that's even remotely possible.
Then having a rigorous, non-arbitrary way to create and manage that digital substance isn't just cool tech. It starts to look like a fundamental infrastructure need for the future.
Okay, that sets the stage. Let's switch gears to the engineering side. From the why to the how. This is where the practical questions come in. When we talk about DMT assets, especially UNATs, the non-fungibles, how are they really on the chain? Are they just pointers?
It's always the first question, isn't it? And it gets to the core efficiency gain here. It's not just about storing something. It's about how it's generated.
Generated?
Yeah. So creating a typical UNAT involves just three main things, all stored efficiently on-chain.
Only three. What are they?
Okay, first, you need the ticker deployment. That's like registering the name. Second, you need the art script. This is the key part, the inscription ID of the element or the recipe.
The script. So not like a JPEG or PNG file inscribed directly.
No, exactly. This is crucial. The art isn't a static image file. It's generated by code. It could be HTML, JavaScript, SVG, something lightweight that's stored on-chain.
Ah, okay, like instructions.
Think of it as the blueprint, yeah. And the third thing is just the individual mint inscription for each unique piece. That's tiny, data-wise.
So wait, how does the art actually appear then?
Good question. When a website or an explorer wants to show you the UNAT, it takes that unique mint inscription ID.
The third piece.
Right. And it plugs it into the master art script, the blueprint we talked about. The code then executes right there in the browser or wallet.
And draws the unique asset in real time.
Exactly, based on the combination of the script and the unique ID.
And because it's code drawing shapes, lines, squares, colors, not displaying fixed pixels.
That's how you get that infinite resolution people talk about. It scales perfectly because it's vector-based, essentially. Always crisp.
That makes sense. And the cost implications must be huge.
Oh, absolutely. This is where the economics really shine, and it ties back to that NATs and UNAT link.
How so?
Well, the creator pays maybe, say, $300, $400 once to inscribe that main art script, the blueprint.
Okay.
Compare that to the old way. You wanted 10,000 unique NFT images. You might have had to inscribe 10,000 separate, potentially large image files. That could cost, tens of thousands of dollars, maybe even a whole Bitcoin or more, depending on fees.
Wow, okay. Big difference.
Huge. With DMT, the cost per individual mint inscription, that little bit of JSON text, is just a few dollars. Sometimes it's as small as like 291 bytes.
So it massively lowers the barrier for creators while keeping everything genuinely on-chain and generated from chain data.
Precisely. It democratizes the creation process for complex generative art on Bitcoin.
And you mentioned this links the NAT and the UNAT.
Yes, because the fundamental DMT asset creation process inherently produces both. The framework allows founders to define how the fungible NAT relates to the non-fungible UNAT from the very beginning.
So it's not like tacking an NFT onto some unrelated token later on.
Right. It's designed as a unified system from the start, which can lead to more integrated utility models.
Okay, this efficiency and the on-chain generation, it enables some interesting applications. Let's talk about dynamic mints. MDBBTC, it comes up a lot in the sources.
Yeah, MDBBTC is a really powerful example of pushing that non-arbitrary idea to its limit.
What was the goal there?
The goal was essentially to remove all human bias and prior knowledge from the minting process. For their assets, these interactive 3D vessels, the final traits, what they actually look like.
Yeah.
Nobody knows beforehand, not the creator, not the minter, nobody.
How is that even possible?
Because the code that generates the vessel uses two dynamic inputs. First, the inscription ID, which, remember, only gets assigned when you mint.
Okay, so it's unique and generated at the last second.
Right. And second, it pulls in data from the latest Bitcoin block at the moment of minting.
So the appearance, the traits are literally determined by the state of the Bitcoin network right then and there.
Exactly. The final look is dictated by the chain's real-time data. It means nobody can predict or snipe the rare ones by analyzing pre-reveal data or anything like that.
That's true. Cryptographic fairness, the asset is sort of aware of its environment.
It is. It's persistent, block-aware, and its final form is entirely tied to Bitcoin's verifiable history and current state. This kind of security against gaming the system is a huge deal for builders focused on genuinely decentralized distribution.
Okay, so we've got the why, the philosophy, the periodic table idea, and the how, the efficient engineering, the dynamic mints. What's happening in the wider market now? What's the ecosystem look like?
Well, one big shift we need to talk about is distribution. The sources really contrast traditional airdrops with something called block drops.
Airdrops versus block drops. Why the distinction?
It speaks to that long-term vision of DMT. Airdrops are usually these one-off centralized events, right? A team pushes tokens out.
And often people just dump them immediately.
Exactly. The sources mention ZK Sync, where apparently something like 40% of recipients just sold their entire airdrop right away. It doesn't necessarily build a lasting community or value.
Okay, so how are block drops different?
Block drops are designed to be persistent. They rely on something called parent-child provenance.
Parent-child, meaning?
Meaning the new asset's origin, its right to exist, is linked directly to an existing on-chain asset, maybe owning a specific bitmap parcel, or maybe it's tied to activity in a certain block range.
Ah, so it's based on prior on-chain history or ownership.
Right. And because that link is on-chain, someone could theoretically use that provenance to inscribe a derived asset, say, 100 years from now, even if the original project creators are long gone.
That's really different. It builds in longevity beyond a specific team.
Exactly. It's seen as crucial for building any kind of truly persistent digital world or metaverse economy, where value doesn't just disappear if a company shuts down its servers.
Makes sense. What's the actual market traction? Are people using these NATs and UNATs?
Oh yeah, the adoption is picking up speed. Look at flagship UNAT projects like NatCats. They have, what, over 3,300 unique owners already out of a total supply around 8,000. That's a pretty wide distribution.
And their traits are locked to Bitcoin patterns permanently.
Forever tied, yeah. They'll propagate as long as Bitcoin exists. And on the fungible side, the main NAT token. Last I checked the sources, it had around 13,500 holders.
13,000. How does that compare?
Well, it's getting surprisingly close to major established BLO20s like Ordi, which has maybe 16,000 holders.
But the market cap difference is huge, right? NAT is much smaller than Ordi.
Oh, vastly smaller. NAT's maybe $50–60 million market cap versus Ordi's $1 billion plus.
Yeah.
So reaching near parity in holder count despite that massive cap difference, it suggests the adoption rate and grassroots interest are really strong, especially considering how new DMT is.
That's a significant indicator. What about utility? Are we seeing uses beyond just collecting?
Definitely. And sometimes in surprising ways. There's this project, Nat Flyers, which was apparently a community-led initiative.
Okay.
They connected their digital assets, their UNATs, to the chance to buy actual physical sneakers.
Physical shoes, like real-world items tied to these non-arbitrary tokens.
Yeah, creating something called real-life BRC 420s, exploring that bridge between the digital and physical.
That's interesting. But how much does the non-arbitrary nature of the UNAT really matter there? Isn't the physical redemption still based on trusting the NAT Flyers team to deliver the shoe?
Yeah.
It feels a bit arbitrary at the application layer.
That's a really sharp point. The underlying asset itself, the UNAT, has that non-arbitrary scarcity and provenance rooted in Bitcoin. But the utility layered on top, getting the shoe, yes, that does currently rely on the project team's decision and execution.
So it's not fully trustless end-to-end in that specific case.
Not for the physical redemption part, no.
Yeah.
But the argument in the sources is that basing that utility on a provably scarce, non-arbitrary digital asset makes the promise more trustworthy than if it were tied to, say, an inflationary token the team could mint infinitely. The verifiable digital scarcity underpins the real-world agreement.
Okay, I see the distinction. The foundation is stronger, even if the bridge requires trust.
Right. And we're also seeing innovation just in how these things get distributed, trying to make it fairer.
Fairer how? Like avoiding whale concentration.
Exactly. King Punk Ape, for example, used this new distribution method called fair and balanced.
Catchy name. What does it do?
It lets the creators set up different phases for the mint. They can have whitelists specifically for holders of other relevant communities, like maybe Bitcoin babies or early NatCat minters.
Oh, targeting specific groups?
Yeah, and they can set maximum mints per wallet, different pricing tiers per phase. It's basically a toolkit to actively counter those bot-driven mints where a few wallets grab huge chunks of the supply right at the start.
That seems like a necessary evolution, given some of the chaos in earlier mints.
Definitely. It's about trying to achieve wider, more community-focused distribution from day one.
So, looking ahead, is DMT just its own ecosystem, or does it interact with other things happening on Bitcoin, like runes?
That's a key part of the future vision. The DMT framework itself, the core logic, is fundamentally protocol agnostic.
Meaning it could work with different token standards?
Exactly. It's a set of principles, a logic for non-arbitrary creation, not just one specific token implementation. Developers are already actively looking at how to bring DMT's logic into other protocols.
Like runes.
Runes is definitely a major focus, yeah. There's work being done, particularly via Sigil, to explore how DMT principles could integrate with or enhance rooms.
Why? What's the goal there?
I think there's a recognition that future token standards need to offer more utility, more robustness than maybe, say, BRC-20 currently allows. DMT provides this well-thought-out, philosophically grounded approach to non-arbitrary value that could be a powerful upgrade path for token utility generally.
Interesting. So it's seen as a potential foundational layer for whatever comes next.
Could be. It offers a way to build tokens that are intrinsically tied to Bitcoin's security and energy, which is a pretty compelling proposition.
Okay, this has been incredibly insightful. We've gone from philosophy to engineering to market adoption.
It covers a lot of ground.
For you, the listener, hopefully this deep dive clarifies why digital matter theory is generating so much excitement. It's presented as this necessary step forward philosophically and technically.
It aims for authenticity through that non-arbitrary link to Bitcoin.
Right, plus that surprising efficiency in creation.
And ultimately, it offers this foundation for digital value that isn't just based on someone's arbitrary decision.
And just to circle back to that core structure.
Yeah, it's worth remembering that the DMT framework is designed to generate both things at once. The UNAT, the non-fungible art or collectible.
And the NAT, its fungible counterpart token.
Simultaneously. This dual token system, baked in from the start, lets creators think about the relationship and the shared utility between them right away.
Which avoids that awkwardness of trying to link unrelated assets later on.
Exactly. It's conceived as a whole from the beginning.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. If we start deploying these non-arbitrary assets, rooted directly in Bitcoin's energy, using rules discovered almost like physics, mimicking something like the periodic table, what kinds of utility, what kinds of applications might become possible that simply weren't feasible or trustworthy with purely arbitrary tokens? What happens when digital scarcity is as verifiable and grounded as, well, physical matter?
It feels like we're watching the emergence of the first truly persistent computationally derived materials.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to keep a close eye on.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.